Okay, here we go. So let's start with one of the problems that was on yesterday's page. That was a difficult problem. And although video, you cannot see the board. At this time, if you can see the board, feel free just to refer up to that. If not, the other opportunity for you would be to take out the paper or look at your phone that has the chart with the different powers. So how do we simplify this? This is the first task you were asked to practice yesterday after the quiz. Well, the first thing is, please listen, you're going to see that this particular number is not a perfect cube. But you want to see if you can simplify it. So look up on that table, and we're looking at every number to the left of this. And let's only think of it as a positive 1,125. So you start dividing it by 8, and you divide it by 27, by 64. But when you get to 125, you're going to see that it simplifies, that it breaks into 125 and 9. And I'm going to write it as a negative 125 times 9. Negative times a positive is a negative. Now in reality, this is what I've just done. I've broken that apart, keeping the same nth root. So what is the cube root of negative 125? That means what times itself 3 times gives you negative 125. And I'm going to show you that it is negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. That gives you a negative 125. This answer is negative 5. I have a 2 out front. And now I'm going to continue to reduce. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And I cannot reduce this any further. If you're thinking, like, how do you know that? You're going to look at your perfect cubes. You identify where 9 is. It's right here. And I look at all the numbers to the left. Now, although 1 divides nicely into 9, it never reduces it when you're trying to simplify. 8 does not divide nicely into 9, giving you a whole number. So I'm going to leave the 9 inside. And how many groups of 3 can you take out of 2? None. How many groups of 3 can you take out of 6? 2. There is your final answer. Would anybody like to see one more similar to that? There's a lot of confusion. Okay, so here's your next one. This problem is not on the paper you were given yesterday, but it's similar to number 4. Looking at the board, or referring back to your paper, is 64 on the list of the nth roots of 5? It is? Nope, not on there, right? So for those that are like, what numbers is she talking about? Can somebody list them for me, what we know right now? We can just do the first couple. 1, 32. Okay, we're going to stop right there. So I find where 64 is. It's right here. And I'm only looking to the left of that. So I'm only looking at 1 and 32. And again, 1 is never going to reduce anything. So does 32 nicely go into 64? It does. So this breaks apart into 32 times 2. And it's going to be a negative 32 because negative 32 times 2 is a negative 64. Now, what number can I take times itself 5 times and you end up with negative 32? Well, look at the chart. The answer is 2, and then there's a negative in front. So we have negative 2. I'm just showing you here the long way. So if I take it times itself 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I end up with a negative 32. We're able to do this when the nth root is negative. So this is a negative 2, and I already have a negative 3 out front. The 2 stays inside. How many groups of 5 can you take out of 1? None. How many groups of 5 can you take out of 6? You can take 1 out with the remainder of 1. How many groups of 5 can you take out of 12? 2 with the remainder of 2. Your final answer, 3 times 2 is 6. BC squared. Fifth root of 2ABC squared. This was the first task that I wanted you to learn from the radicals unit. Now the second thing you were able to practice yesterday was about adding and subtracting radical expressions. So we're going to start by reviewing a few of those at this time. to keep up. You need to be able to write fairly quick today. I would like you to pass this along. Please listen. I told my first and second period, if you look on the board, I told my first and second period that due to tomorrow's assembly, that we were no longer going to have the AZ Merit practice session. That has changed. We just got an email from Mr. Provost saying that because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, that tomorrow's assembly is going to be moved to a different date. So we will be meeting tomorrow in the community room. Did everybody hear that? Pass it along to your friends. Urban, if you don't have friends, this is a chance to make friends. Like, hey, hey, you have Miss Bradley's class? And they're like, yeah, oh, hey, my name's Urban. And by the way, okay? Sorry, Urban. Okay, here we go. So look at your cubes. I'm going to write the numbers down over here. You're welcome just to look in the board. 1, 8, 27, 60. Oh, you guys are helping me out, making sure I'm not making any mistakes. 64, 125, 216, yes? Yes. Okay, so where do you start? You find where this number is. So 40 is right here. And I'm only going to look to the left of that. So I'm only looking at 1, 8, and 27. But 1 doesn't reduce anything. So I'm only looking at 8 and 27. Does 8 or 27 nicely divide into 40? 8. So 8 times 5. Now, the cube root of 8 is 2, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And I'm going to leave the cube root of 5 in that place. Okay, now I find 3. So I go back up here. Here's 3. I only look to the left. The only number is 1. 1 doesn't reduce anything. I write it down as is. I find 81. 81 is right here, and I look to the left. 64 does not nicely divide into 81. 27 does. 27 times 3. Now there's already a negative 3 there. What is the cube root of 27? 3, and then we have a 3 remaining inside. So this is negative 6, cube root of 5, negative 3, cube root of 3, negative 9, cube root of 3. Now we're going to go back to the way that I teach how to combine like terms. This is definitely not like a mathematical term, which means if you go to another math teacher and ask about stars, they're going to be confused. So the only way to have a star when you're adding or subtracting expressions with radicals is if you have the same nth root and the same number in the radical. So 5 and 3. Nope, but here's 3 and 3, so I'm going to put a star over the top. When I combine these two, negative 3 star subtract 9 star is really negative 12 star. But in reality, what is star? Cube root of 3. Bring down what we haven't been able to turn into a star, and this problem is done. Okay, next practice problem. Okay, so I'm looking at square roots. So now you're looking at the chart that's 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on. Find 27. It's not up there, so look everything to the left of 27. What's the largest number here? If there is one that divides into 27, it is 9 times 3. The square root of 9 is 3. So this is 3 times that out front 3, the coefficient. 3 times 3 is 9. I have 9 times radical 3 when I simplify this first term in the expression. Okay, I find where 5 is. 5 is right here. I look everything to the left of it. No number to the left of it can divide nicely into 5 and also reduce it. I write it down. I find 45, which would be right here. I look everything to the left of it, and I can see that 9 nicely divides into 43, going 9 times 5. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Square roots of 5. So those are my 3 terms. Now we need to see, can we combine them? So are there any stars involved? And there are 2 stars. Both of these have radical 5, or square root of 5, excuse me. Same nth root of 2, same number inside being 5. So 2 star plus 9 star is 11 star. In reality, what is star? It is radical 5. Bring down what was not able to turn into a star. Okay, I'm going to have you practice one with your partner. Okay, please write down -2, radical 18, subtract 2 radical 3, subtract radical 18. With your partner, we're going to practice at the speed you would be taking a quiz. You have 1.5 minutes, no penalty for not being done in time or for having it wrong. Begin. Bless you. I'm going to begin. Okay, so right now I'm looking, out of the 3 terms, which one has an nth root of 2? Okay, they all have that, and a 2 inside. So I'm looking at these 2. -6 star, subtract 3 star is -9 star. In reality, star is actually the square root of 2, bring down what was not a star. For my instruction, can you raise your hand if one of 2 things? You got that right on your own with help of your partner is what I mean, or you understood how I explained it. 1 or 2 things, hands up. Okay, maybe like 40%. Let's practice another one. Let's do this individually this time without the help of your partner. What if you end up with 0 star before you put a final answer? 0 star? What's 0 times anything? 0. Would anybody like me to slow that down and explain it? Hands raised. Okay. So I bring down the -1 with the cube root of 6. Didn't have to do anything to it. I just placed a 1 there in front. There's already a negative sign, which identified this number as -1. And then 48, I look at the cubes, 1, 8, 27, 64. I find where 48 is, and I look at everything to the left of 48 in this list. 27 does not divide in, but 8 does. 8 times 6 is 48. I know the cube root of 8 is 2, and I bring down the 3, cube root of 3. Okay, I find 6, nothing to the left reduces it. So I have in each one of these three terms an nth root of 3 and a 6 inside the radical. So negative 1 star, negative 2 star, and positive 3 star. When I add them up, I end up with 0 star, and I know 0 times anything is 0. Hands raised if you'd like to see one more before we move on. Okay, here's your last one. Did we get 0 again?
Yeah.
Final answer is 0. Okay, so up to this point, let's go over the two tasks that I want you to understand. If you look back to this paper, one was I simply give you an expression and you're able to reduce it. The second thing we've been practicing is if I give you an expression with adding and subtracting, you can reduce it. Now the third task is can you multiply and then simplify an expression? Can you multiply and then simplify an expression? I'd like you to just put your pencil or pen down and just watch me do 3 problems. Just watch me do 3. Pencils and pen down, please. Okay, so here's what we do. When we multiply, we're going to start by looking at the number in front, the coefficient, not the nth term. 1 times 1 is 1. You can multiply if they have the same nth term. The nth term is a hidden 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. Because they have the same nth term, 6 times 6 is 36. Now, for this particular problem, I'm working with squares. I find 12. Is anything to the left of 12 able to reduce the 12? 4 times 3. Square root of 4 is, and 2 times 1 is 2. Square root of 36 happens just to be 6. 6 times 1 is 6. This problem is done. Okay, here's your next problem. Just watching, please, not writing down. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4, and you have a radical 5. 2 times negative 2 is negative 8, and you can multiply the radicals because they're the same nth root. 5 times 10 is 50. Okay, let's go back up to this list since we happen to be working with squares. Here's 5. Does anything to the left of it nicely divide in and reduce it? Okay, here's 50 over here. Does anything to the left of it divide into it? 25 times 2. The square root of 25 is, and 5 times negative 8. 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. Now you may be wondering, can you go further? This goes back to the last task we learned. You can only add or subtract if they have stars. These don't have stars because you don't have the same nth root along with, yes, you have the same nth root, but along with having the same number inside. So this problem is done. One more before we practice together. Okay, when you distribute, you multiply. Multiplying the coefficients, -4 times -5 is 20. I can multiply the radicals because they have the same nth root of 2. 3 times 10 is 30. Multiplying the coefficients, -4 times 4 is -16. I can multiply the radicals because they have the same root, nth root. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, find 30 on the nth root of 2. Look at all the numbers to the left. Does any one of those numbers divide nicely into 30? So you're looking at 25, 16, 9, 4, 1. Does anyone divide in and reduce it? Okay, can't do anything. What is the square root of 9? What is 3 times -16? -48. Okay, this problem is done. We're doing the next problem together. What number is in front of the 6, the square root of 6? We're going to start with the coefficients. 3 times 1 is 3. Now because they have the same nth root, we can multiply. 5 times 6 is 30. 3 times 2 is 6. Because they have the same nth root, we can multiply. 5 times 10 is 50. Find 30 on the nth root being 2. Look at everything to the left of it. Do any one of those numbers nicely divide into 30? Nope, so this cannot be reduced. Find 50. Do any one of the numbers nicely divide into 50? 25 times 2. The square root of 25 is 5, and 5 times 6 is 30. To your partner, whoever sits on the left, I want you to explain, why can I not create stars for this problem? Yes, you have the same nth root of 2, but you don't have the same numbers inside. Here's your next one. With your partner, you have 45 seconds, and then I'm going to stop you whether you're done or not, and you'll watch me complete the problem. Begin. Two times -1, 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times -3, 3 times 2 is 6. Square root of 9 is 3, so I get to multiply. I find 6 on that list. I look to everything to the left, which is number 4 and 1. And although 1 divides, it doesn't reduce it. Now, a lot of students in previous classes said, well, can't I go further? Okay, you can't go further because in order to combine these, this would have to have a radical 6. This problem is done. Can you raise your hand if you had it correct? Okay, let's do 2 problems. Let's practice them individually as if this was a quiz. So my next step is to break down after I multiply. 5 times 1 is 5 with radical 6. 1 times 2 is 2 with radical 12. In the past, I see a lot of students that want to break this into 6 and 2, or 1 and 12. Why can't I choose those numbers? They're not from the list. Which one is from the list? 4 and 4 is from it. We know 4 times 3 is 12. So this is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And the reason we cannot make a star and combine is because although we have the same nth root, this is not a 3, or they don't have the same number inside. 1 through 5, what's your level of confidence with this? Most of us are 3 or above. So I want to go over right now my expectation, right? Okay, my expectation is that you've practiced or will take time to practice how to just simplify from yesterday, how to add and subtract, and now we have how to multiply, okay? We're going to add to that, how do we divide? Put your pencil or pen down, please. I'm going to start by showing you the long way. That's why I don't want you to write it down. And I want you to be able to come up with what is the short way. Moises, paying attention? Great. For anybody watching this video, I just want to let you know that Moises is single and he's looking for a prom date. He's trying to throw people off with that red hat. He just didn't do his hair today. Okay, so here's the problem. We want to simplify it. So by simplifying it, what I want to clarify is, hopefully you understand that 2 is the same as 10 over 5. It's the same as 30 over 15. It's the same as 4 over 2. Do you agree if I place these into the calculator, you all get the exact same thing? So we're going to do what looks really complicated, but in the end it'll be equivalent on a calculator. Now, why do we want to change this? Because one of the math rules that you need to know is that your final answer can't have a radical on the bottom. How many people know that? Okay, so how do we do this? We're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. What that means is that we are going to take whatever is on the bottom, and we're going to rewrite the front and the back. Now, whatever we do to the top, we're going to do the exact same thing to the bottom to keep this original value the same. So in this case, we had addition. Now we're going to change it to subtraction. Okay, that's step 1. Here's step 2. I'm going to do this the long way. That's why you are not writing this down. I'm going to multiply. I'm going to FOIL. Front, outside, inside, and last. Okay, 16 I can't do anything with. Do you see how these two cancel? What is the square root of 4? 16 subtract 2 is 14. Okay, now I'm going to do the top. There's a 1 in front. 1 times 4 is 4 with a radical 3. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. I can multiply because they have the same nth root. This problem is done. Okay, let's watch the next one. So to simplify this and write it in proper form, I see there's a radical on the bottom. So I'm going to rewrite the denominator. But instead of having subtraction for this problem, I'll have addition. Whatever I put on the bottom, I must write the exact same thing on top so that when it multiplies, it doesn't change the value of the original problem. Okay? Again, I'm doing this the long way. You need to be looking for a shortcut right now. Okay? So 3 times 3, 3 times 3 is 9. So there's F for FOIL, then the outside, then the inside. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. 3 times 3 is the square root of 9. These cancel. The square root of 9 is 3. So 9 subtract 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6 with a radical 2. 2 times 1 is 2 with a radical 6. Okay, I'm going to put the 6 here right in the middle. Okay, you ready? Moises, this problem is in honor of you. Okay, you ready? So Moises is looking for love in his life, like Gianna. We're going to make a heart. This is literally going to be a heart problem. Watch. This 6 down the bottom needs to first be shared with everything on the left. So it looks like this. 6 square root of 2 over 6. Then I rewrite the symbol. And now the 6 needs to be shared with everything on the right. 2 radical 6 over 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Now, what does 2 over 6 reduce to? Now, think about it before you blur out the answer, because there's often a lot of wrong answers. 2 over 6 reduces to 1/3. Here's the right answer. Now, the reason we didn't do that with the previous problem was on the previous problem, 4 and 14 and 1 and 14 can't be reduced. Yes, these could be reduced, but the 1 and the 14 can't, so I'm okay with it leaving it in that form. Here, the 6 can reduce with both 6 and 2. Good problem, right, Moises?
Yes.
Good. Okay, grab that pen or pencil. Let's write down the next one together. Okay, so we have a radical on the bottom, parentheses. I'm going to rewrite what I see in the bottom, but instead of having addition, we have subtraction now. Okay, so has anybody figured out what the shortcut is? Multiply straight across. You're close. You're close. Anybody? You're yes. Yes. Okay, ready? So start with together you two are right. It's a good combination. Multiply the fronts. So what's -2 times -2? Okay, we're going to write that down somewhere off to the side really small. Multiply the fronts. So that part was right of Mari. Then what Nicole said is subtract. It's always subtraction next. Why is that? Because these are always going to be different signs in the middle. That's what creates the subtraction. And now we're going to multiply the last part. So 1 times 1 is 1. Doesn't do us anything. But square root of 2 times square root of 2, because you have the same nth root, we can go 2 times 2 is 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. What does this give you? 4 subtract 2 is 2. 4 times -2 is -8. 4 times -1 is -4 with a radical 2. Okay, now within your groups, this answer is not simplified enough. You have 20 seconds with your partner to simplify this using the Moises Hart method. Go. Okay, how many were able to get this answer? What's your confidence level before we try a few more? 1 through 5. We have a lot of 3s or above. Nice. Franco, were you just waving at me, or were you just doing like jazz hands? Here's where I am right here, guys, right here. Okay, let's beef this up and make this difficult. You need a challenge. With your partner, you have 2 minutes, begin. raining for you guys. Getting the bottom number is difficult. Hands raised if you're able to get 13 on the bottom. That's tough. Does anybody want me to explain how to get 13? Tough. Okay, so negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. Then always put subtraction. 2 times 2 is 4. Because you have the same nth root, you can multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. And then you have 25 subtract 12, which is 13. I'm going to multiply. Negative 1 times 5 is 5 with the radical 2. Negative 1 times negative 2 is 2 with the radical 6. 2 and 6 cannot be reduced, and 13 and 5, or 2 and 13 does not reduce. There's your final answer.